Joining us now is author Susan Runholt, and I think Kent has an introduction, yes?
Yes, indeed I do. Susan Runholt is the author of a wonderful debut middle grade novel titled The Mystery of the Third Lucretia, which was released not long ago. It features two very compelling adolescent protagonists named Carrie Sundgren and Lucas Stickney, both female, who sleuth their way through some pretty extraordinary adventures. Along the way, readers have the opportunity to learn a good deal about Europe and about the world of classic art. Critics loved this book. They've called it a crackling good mystery, winning, exciting, clever, and engaging, a must-read. It won several starred reviews along the way. You are at work. You finished your second book in the series, Rescuing Seneca Crane, which will be released in the not-too-distant future. And I know you're hard at work on a third because Carl and I have had the wonderful opportunity of hearing portions of that in our book group. In addition to your fiction writing, you are also a well-known and respected fundraising consultant here in the Twin Cities, and you are also one of the most politically active people I know. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thank you.
Do you know, I was going to introduce your novel as a YA novel, but in the discussion, it's clear that how would you categorize?
I would call it middle grade. Sometimes YA includes middle grade, sometimes it does not, but middle grade is very clear. And so what I'm finding is that my average reader is probably 11 years old, and I hear from a lot of 11-year-olds. It seems to just really hit them well. Although my protagonists are 14, but kids want to read up.
Sure, all 11-year-old girls want to be 14.
Yes,
having the adventures of the 14.
And boys, actually.
Do you hear from boys?
Oh, absolutely. One of my two biggest fans is a boy named Jackson, who lives here in the Twin Cities area. And Jackson and I correspond, and I have talked him into writing for his school newspaper because he's the best young writer in terms of craft that I've ever come across.
Oh, wonderful.
Really?
Your publisher is Viking.
Wonderful.
Viking Children's Books.
That was the question. It's a separate division of the bigger publisher, right? And so your editor is somebody who deals primarily or exclusively with younger readers rather than
yes,
general audience?
and the publisher is the publisher for Viking Children's. It's not the same as the publisher for
Whole different, operation. Now, I knew you first as a writer of adult fiction.
Right.
But a few years ago, you shifted gears and really turned your energies to writing middle grade fiction. What caused that shift?
It actually happened as a life circumstance more than anything. It was not a decision I made. I had been writing, as Carl and Kent know because they're in my writers group, adult fiction, and I was a single mother living here in the Twin Cities, doing this fiction writing as a hobby. And what happened was that my perfect, wonderful daughter turned 14 years old. And every time I say this, every adult in the room knows what I'm talking about. And then when I say to the youngsters that I'm talking to, do any of you have older brothers and sisters? They raise their hands. Have any of your older brothers and sisters had trouble with your parents? The same hands go up.
Of course.
So it's a universal experience, and ours was one of those families where we really had trouble figuring out what we could say to each other that didn't bring somebody to tears or cause voices to be raised. So I was casting about for some way of bridging the gap between us, and I thought, what if we wrote a book together? My first idea was a mother-daughter mystery, to which my daughter said, Mom, that idea stinks. Nobody my age is going to want to write a mother-daughter sleuthing team. So that's how we came up with the Best Friends Gambit.
And it worked very nicely.
And you wrote it with them?
Yes, I actually wrote it with my daughter. She decided who the characters were.
Okay, you've one daughter.
I have one daughter.
Okay.
She decided who the characters were, what their names were, what their personalities were like, and as I went through the book, chapter by chapter, I would read these scenes or whole chapters to her, and she would say, "That part is really boring, way more than I want to know," or "That's really good. I like that. That's very exciting." And she has She has a little bit of talent, I think, and she was really able to set me off.
She's
And
your
Well, she
editor,
clearly has
yeah.
a good sense in that as your first reader, because I found it to be a terrific book.
No,
thank you.
the narrator of the series is Kari.
Kari.
And Kari's voice is a wonderful, compelling. All of the reviewers just love Kari, and those of us who have read the books love Kari's voice. Is Annalisa's voice at all in Kari's?
that is absolutely Annalisa's voice. When I started to write it, I tried to mimic her voice. Well, then Kari got a voice of her own. We can, as authors, can understand that. So that now it's Kari's voice, but it began as Annalisa's voice. So yes, she's very present in that book in particular, but she also helped with the second book and is helping with the third. She reads it through. She brings a lot of sass to it. It's things that I might not think
That's
that
great. How
kids
old is
would.
she now?
She's 28 now. I began that book 14 years ago. So
My, how time flies.
yes.
Yes, yeah.
Do you notice any maturing of her attitude toward these books now that she's much older and she's still
Oh
helping you
yes.
with these?
Oh, absolutely.
So you have
Yes.
to watch that, I guess, a little bit. So
Well,
you're not-
she just, her attitude toward the book changes, but she still is able to bring in a younger dimension, I think.
And we talked a little bit earlier in the earlier segment, because I've done some writing for a younger audience.
Right.
Because you have written both for adults and for the younger audience, middle grade. What's your take on the differences in writing for the two audiences, and what's your take on how the work is received? Is there a difference in how it's received by two audiences?
I'm not sure about the second level, so I'll just start with
Okay.
the first. There is a difference. In books for adults, one usually finds certain resting chapters. This often happens after something very exciting, and for example, in the hard-boiled West Coast, these guys typically drive up or down the coast, and they stop at some diner, and they have a cup of coffee and flirt with a skinny waitress, or whatever. And it's just sort of a resting chapter and cogitate about things. There's no such thing in books for kids. You need to make every single chapter exciting, and I find that kids respond very well to teasers at the end of chapters to get them to not turn off the light quite yet.
Yeah,
So-
I wonder if that isn't good writing, just generally good
Generally
writing.
speaking.
That you found the formula to just good writing.
Well, I think in an adventurous kind of mystery book, yes. I mean, if we're talking about Ernest Hemingway, that's, we're talking about something quite different. But yes, I think in good mystery writing, that's probably true. It's probably true.